Hey everyone, it's Electra. I'm a 44-year-old transgender, male to female, recently transitioning for about a year now. I am recently diagnosed autistic with depression, anxiety, provisional ADHD, and bipolar 2. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back. It's been a brutal week. I am exhausted as fuck, and I don't think I need to really clarify why. I don't know how you can't be if you are any kind of thinking, feeling person in this country right now. And I got my passport renewed just on the off chance I'm able to somehow leave. I don't want to have to leave. I never wanted to leave this country seriously before. I always thought I would be one to stay and try to fight because I feel like someone's got to do it and no one else is doing it. No one really knows how to do it. There are ways to do it, and it's like we're all trying to figure out something that has never been done before. And yeah, I know like countries have had revolutions and governments have changed and the ruling party has been deposed and things get somewhat better, but just as often they end up worse. And basically if you're a thinking and feeling person in the United States of America right now, you basically have the responsibility of trying to do something that's never been done before, or like another way to say it, reinvent the wheel. How can the United States government be in this current form? How could it be destroyed? It's never been done before. The Soviet Union could even figure it out. It feels in a lot of ways like we are in a situation where the three previous major crises of our history have amalgamated into one, have been rolled up into one monster crisis. I feel like we're up against a King George in our own country, that we are up against a traitorous nation of people that are mixed up within us all in every physical location and not just in a certain geographic corner of the country, like below the Mason-Dixon line. And we also have clear elements of fascism, so we could say we have a King George, a Jefferson Davis, and an Adolf Hitler or Benito Mussolini all rolled up into our leadership at this time. All those people were conquered and destroyed, or at least what they represented was. And it seemed like there was a clear answer, but there was a clear way to do that. And now, what is that answer? Like, clearly some sort of rebellion has to happen to provoke a revolution that may or may not lead to some sort of war. And even if it does lead to a war, it's not going to be like previous wars. The days of like the Civil War armies lining up to face each other, firing a round of their rifled muskets, and then reloading for the next minute or however long it took for them to do that, is all long gone. I mean, whatever happens, it's going to be some sort of guerrilla type conflict, kind of like what we first saw and dealt with in Vietnam, except in the domestic United States. And I think well, who would be the Confederates this time? It's gonna have to be the thinking, feeling people, which is also what's giving me a hard time, because we shouldn't have to be the ones playing the rebels. Um, you know, in the Civil War, the thinking and feeling people were on the right side. They represented the U.S. government and they fought the rebels. But now it's like Jefferson Davis won the election of 1860. Lincoln is back in Springfield practicing law. And what would the North have done? Mind you, Jefferson Davis did not actually win the election. He was not even running for president in 1860. There were some Southern candidates, but none of them are Jefferson Davis. And so I know this is like not historically a true apples to apples comparison, but the principle is what I'm getting at. We have basically a president that he's a traitor. I mean, he's not a traitor all the time. He does a few things maybe that, could not be considered traitorous, but 90% of the time, it feels like the things he does that are not traitorous are actually, that's when the clock is broken. That's when the broken clock thing strikes, and the correct clock strikes everything else. So not really sure what the future holds. I don't even know if I want to be here in a year from now, based on the fact I'm now a highly, probably the most marginalized group right now. For the first time in my life, like I've never really been like this, like just, well, especially visually to other people, like such a minority marginalized group. When I presented as a straight white cisgendered straight white male, yeah, I looked like that to people. I think when people got to know me, they knew I wasn't quite that type, even though I was a white male and I was straight. I liked women. I wasn't one of the guys. I never felt comfortable being one of the guys. I never felt comfortable around like what would be considered standard masculinity. I never had those interests. And people would find that out. And so in some ways I felt marginalized in that way, but it wasn't right away. Right away people would judge me by my cover, and I looked like a standard white guy. So people would just assume, it's kind of like inverse racism, where people thought, oh, he's a straight white guy, he loves football, let's talk about sports, let's talk about shitty liberals, and I'm supposed to sit there and act like, oh yeah, I agree, like I wouldn't do that. But now it's like, okay, I'm clearly in the marginalized group, and it sucks. It's exhausting already, and I always thought I'd be one to stay here and fight, but how? I mean, there's no like structured resistance or rebellion. And then there's like the psychological baggage of knowing that we would be the rebels this time. We are going to be the new Confederates if we decide to fight this government as it is. And well, I guess it's more so like the connotation of the word Confederates, and the word itself just means against the federal government. It's all it really means, but there is definitely a connotation to the word, especially since I grew up in Texas in the South. And to me, like the word Confederate was always just like, icky. It's just, I was, I've been places that have Confederate flags flying, and It was actually one of the worst things I hated about living in the South, is just like having this, or in Texas too, is just like having that around you, and it's like you can't do a damn thing about it because it's just kind of like the undertone of the culture down there. And yeah, so anyway, about 10 minutes in, I don't know what else to really talk about right now. And I've probably said enough things that's going to get me shadow banned now. So I'll go ahead and call it a night. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.